In the late hours of the night, where the thick bushes and trees surround the small compound with a fence, there is a truck parked outside the gate just a few meters away from the abandoned compound. There are two siblings inside the house, interacting while taking a look around. They are not totally in agreement with each other. The house is untidy, ominous. Chisholm Maduakor, 30 years of age, tall, fair, handsome, reserved, secretive and an ex-military, takes a deep intense breath as he watches his sister carefully lift her feet from the broken mirror on the floor. "Be careful with that broken mirror," Chisholm says. Jemima Maduakor, 26, light-skinned, inquisitive and daring. "What happened here?" she asks as she looks around. There is a broken table at the center of the room and clay pots scattered all over. At one corner of the room is a black metal box wrapped up with heavy chains and a padlock. "This is where our great-grandmother used to live many years ago," he replies. He walks towards the black metal box, stretching his arm towards it. "So what happened?" she asks as she stands by the broken table which was already condemned by termites and abandoned. "You seem worried and scared," she quickly throws in, observing that he couldn't touch the black box. Chisholm takes his gaze off the black box. "There is a lot about this place and our history that you don't know of, and for your safety, it's best if we said less or knew nothing at all." He gently withdraws his hand and gets back on his feet. "You never say anything to me, always keeping secrets," she says. "But it's totally okay," she adds on. Something else catches her interest. An old bookshelf hidden behind a curtain at the left side of the room, but partially revealed through the torn parts of the curtain. She swiftly approaches the bookshelf and opens the curtain. Her eagerness drives her to open the curtain carelessly and it was ripped to the ground. The bookshelf was totally revealed, but there was only one book on the shelf. "What are you doing there?" Chisholm asks. "I just want to see the bookshelf," she replies. She picks up the book, but Chisholm quickly pushes her and grabs the book from her. "You are trying to trigger the awakening of something you may never be able to put back to sleep," he says. "Then why did you bring me here in the first place?" She yields. There is a blend of fire and anger in her voice as she sits helplessly on the floor and watches him place the book back on the bookshelf. "Oh really, is that it?" His face frowned like a rumpled shirt. "Well, in case you've forgotten, I brought you here because you have been pressurizing me for the past 10 years of our lives," he adds. "And you are not ashamed that your only sister doesn't know anything about her background?" Jemima asks, looking him in the eyes. She gets up and raises her chest towards him, her head held upwards as she tries to meet up with his height. Chisholm had obviously gained heights than his younger sister. She watches Chisholm move towards the bookshelf. He gently adjusts the shelf from the wall to see what fell. "So what do you want to do, beat me?" he asks. "Well, if you're not ashamed that I don't know who I am, congratulations. But I am ashamed that I don't know who I am. I brought you here, so you have to do as I saw." His statement was interrupted by a sudden sound. "What was that?" Jemima asks. It was a bunch of keys. He quickly picks it up and places it on the shelf. "This is not meant to leave the building." He heads towards the entrance door. "We need to leave, now." "But we only got here like 10 minutes ago," she replies. Jemima, "Thanks for the reminder. I'm totally aware, but we can't stay here longer, it's not safe." Jemima was partially intuitive about her brother's decision. At times, his intransigence knew no bounds and could be so stiff. Reluctantly, she follows him through the door. He waits for her to transit towards the gate, which was a few steps away. Soon as she passes through the door, he lifts the old rickety door gently and pulls it to himself in order to keep it closed. Jemima gently opens the gate and walks towards the truck parked up front. She walks straight to the car furiously. Chisholm is a few steps behind. Jemima's unwary action is of less relevance to him as he pays more attention to the thick bushes and trees that surrounded the landmass. He always had a strong perception when there was danger lurking around, like one who is adept in the game of hide and seek. He quickly withdraws his steps and sneaks into the bush in a copacetic manner. His moves are swift and silent. Earlier on, while on their way to the abandoned building, from the rear mirror, Chisholm had spotted a vehicle trailing them, but he pretended not to know and act cool about it. He creeps between the woods stealthily and hides behind a tree and observes closely. There is a figure which was also amongst the woods, waiting to ambush. but Chisholm could detect that the vehicle trailing them earlier on had 3 passengers in it, so he is careful enough not to strike just yet until he spots all 3 of them. From where he's hiding, he can spot Jemima standing by the car and waiting for him. She is totally unaware of what was lurking in the dark. He notices she has pepper spray in her right hand. Well, at least, she's smart enough. He scans his eyes around the car where she's standing, and spots the second person hiding behind the vehicle. He approaches the first spy while reaching his pocket for a kerchief which had some sleeping powder in it. He reaches for the intruder from behind, grabs him tightly on the shoulders and presses the kerchief firmly on his nose. In about 3 seconds, the stranger was fast asleep. He creeps back in the bush for the second spy. There is a sudden scream. Jemima is attacked. She falls to the floor and tries to reach for her pepper spray that rolled away. The stranger is quite huge and fierce. His grip on her hair withholds her from reaching for the spray at ease. Struggling to free herself from his grip, she sways her leg towards his scrotum and sends him to the ground. She quickly reaches for her pepper spray while the stranger tries to get back up in pains. Chisholm springs out of the woods and pounces on the stranger, dashing his head on the boot of the car. "Oh my God," she exhales in shock. Chisholm signals her to remain quiet. "Take the car keys and get in the car, I'll be back." She gets the keys and opens the door but hears a strange sound. It was brief and audible. She quickly turns around to see what it was, but discovers neither her brother nor the unconscious body was in sight. Back in the woods, Chisholm creeps towards the vehicle that was parked some meters away and observed what the driver was up to. The driver was looking at pictures of beautiful women on his iPad and smiling sheepishly. Besides, his headset was on the whole time. He thought it would be easy, Chisholm says to himself with a wolf smile. He moves towards the Mercedes and punches through the window where he was seated and pulls the driver to the ground, after which followed 2 heavy punches strong enough to put a person unconscious. 15 seconds later, he returns to the car where his sister was waiting. "What happened?" Jemima asks. "Get in the car, you ask too many questions." They both get in and he drives off, leaving no bodies behind. Not even the Mercedes was in sight.